Please stop.
Oh, and when are we getting the X-Men?
I cannot tell you that.
Okay, back to She-Hulk.
Jen, I'm here to help.
Hey, Daredevil. You missed it. We're done. Sorry.
Everything? Oh, man.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full She-Hulk Episode 9 finale video. There were a whole bunch of Marvel Easter eggs and references. They had the biggest fourth wall break that you'll probably ever see in Marvel anything. Literally at the end of the episode, they said, oh no, you won't be able to access this feature again in Season 2. Which is kind of like their in-universe version of Kevin Feige, the Kevin Feige robot, saying you won't be able to do this again in Season 2, break the show in this fourth wall kind of way. She even literally said that she smashed the fourth wall. If you're brand new to the channel, I do Marvel videos every week. We have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever coming out really soon. There's a bunch of really big stuff coming up, along with Daredevil Born Again, which they also use the end of this episode to set up, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. Careful for spoilers from the episode if you haven't seen it yet, but we'll start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments, and there's a lot of movie stuff like crossover with the movies that they're setting up with the whole Skaar, Son of Hulk stuff that I'll talk about too. Like, you have all the stuff that they were paying off from She-Hulk Season 1, and then all this other movie stuff that they were setting up, even though they joked about that too. Like, whose show is this? That's literally the title of the episode. Them calling out and clowning on bad Marvel movies and bad Marvel TV show endings. A lot of the fourth wall breaking in this episode is Marvel making fun of Marvel. For example, her breaking the fourth wall in that epic way at the end of the episode to literally change the plot, like she retcons her own episode, would be like Daenerys Targaryen, for example, in the Game of Thrones finale, breaking the fourth wall and going to the Game of Thrones writer's room and making them change the plot so that she has a much better ending. And because one of Deadpool's big things is breaking the fourth wall, it'd be like Deadpool in Deadpool 3 breaking the fourth wall and taking Hugh Jackman and literally walking from the Fox lot to the Disney lot. Like, that's how big their fourth wall break was in this episode. This time there's no cold open, but what they do is they start with the regular Marvel Studios logo, and then it transitions into a version of the 1970s Incredible Hulk TV show intro with new voiceover made to look like it was actually happening back in the 1970s, but it's all the She-Hulk plot weaved into this. Some of it incorporated plot from the She-Hulk series, and some of them are like literal copies of the intro from the Incredible Hulk TV series. The voiceover dialogue is basically the plot of the series. They bring it back again later in the episode where she's like, no, breaking the fourth wall. We're not going to do a voiceover in this series. This also isn't even the first time that she's broken the fourth wall to affect the She-Hulk writers and the Kevin robot. Earlier, when she asked them to redo the previously on, she would have had to be speaking to the same people making the She-Hulk show. They work in pictures of Todd with the fondue to set up the whole bit with him being the Hulk King behind the Intelligencia stuff, confirming a lot of our theories after last week's episode. Like, he seemed so sus after last week's episode, and even though during her fourth wall break in the second half of the episode, she retcons the plot of the finale, they don't completely retcon all the Todd stuff. Like, that all happened, she just retcons some aspects of it. They do a bit about the online trolls with the Intelligencia, but it's a classic 1970s era computer with her typing on an old-looking forum like it would have been if she were interacting with those characters during the 1970s. They finally pay off that classic Don't Make Me Angry scene that they put in the original trailers. Like, this is directly from the Incredible Hulk TV series, and they're dressed like the characters from that series. Like, the Bruce Banner character is dressed exactly like the David Banner character was in that series during this scene.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
And they end this 1970s intro with the same type of titles from the Incredible Hulk TV series in the 1970s, but they finally use the Savage She-Hulk name from the comics. I think they've referenced Savage She-Hulk before, but this is the first time that they've actually written it on screen. During her very first solo comic book, it was the Savage She-Hulk. Like, that was her #1 issue, which is being read by the Kevin robot in the end credits scene. The actual opening scene is her waking up inside the damage control prison, just like the Abomination cell that he was in, even though they do wind up changing the plot during the second half of the episode with her big fourth wall break, this huge retcon that she pulls. All the stuff that happens in the first part of the episode still happens canonically within her story in the MCU. So like the Intelligencia always came after her, tried to steal her blood. I think what she changed though with the retcon is that Todd's experiment in replicating the powers of the Hulk with her blood were unsuccessful. Like, that's the only thing that she changed about the Intelligencia plot. All the other stuff really happened. She didn't change that. So the first part of the episode is dedicated to her tracking down what actually is going on with these Intelligencia characters and revealing Todd to be behind all this. For at least the first part of the episode, she has to wear the ankle bracelet that Abomination and Bruce Banner wore for a lot of the series. Although we find out what was really going on with Abomination 2, confirming some of our suspicions, but it was a bit of a twist. Like, they kind of set him up for Thunderbolts and Captain America 4 stuff, but not in the way that I thought that they were going to set him up for that. I'll explain more of that when we get to that part of the episode. They imply that at least for a little while, her law firm fires her because their whole thing is that they just wanted her for She-Hulk, not for Jennifer Walters, and if she can't be She-Hulk anymore, then there's no point in her working at the law firm. When she goes back to live with her parents, all of her posters are from the early 2000s because that's when she would have been in college, and they're all legal-themed movies like Legally Blonde, Erin Brockovich. They introduced the new dance video that she created in school with their friends, which is also kind of a callback to her twerking. Like, a lot of this is meant to be meta jokes referencing earlier moments in the series that people were upset about. Like, a lot of them making fun of the trolls in Intelligencia is them making fun of fans in real life getting upset at the show. So like, all the Intelligencia characters are meant to be proxies for the real-life She-Hulk TV show haters. So when she breaks the fourth wall the first time, she says, wait a minute, this seems wrong. It's her acknowledging that she's not in control of her own story, and the whole idea during the series, like the whole actual story as she talks to the Kevin robot later, is meant to be about her finding the balance between being She-Hulk and being Jennifer Walters' lawyer by day. So once she breaks the fourth wall, like once it gets super meta, it's her like literally and metaphorically taking control of her own story and actually doing that. She references the show going off the rails, which is another reference about shows introducing big twists just for the sake of twists that don't make any sense. While she's still in the middle of her fourth wall break, they have the bit with her stopping the announcer voice. Like, announcer, we're not doing this anymore. Go away. When she tries to get a hold of Bruce Banner Hulk again, you notice her handle for him is the Smug Hulk. I believe we saw this earlier in the series where her joke was that she was calling him the smug version of the Hulk. Most of these people and all of her text messages on her phone here are just her friends and coworkers. Some of these random people might also be crew members from the actual show. She breaks the fourth wall again to announce that she's going to visit Abomination. Nikki uses the college dance video to get Pug in to see what's happening with the Intelligencia characters also at the retreat. She meets the Thunderbolt member of Wrecking Crew again, and remember, the whole thing with them is that they were trying to get her blood, so they were actually working for the Intelligencia for Todd Hulk King. But I think the whole idea with his character is that he's actually meant to be genuine in the previous episode when he said that he was done with all that stuff. Because during the episode, he just seems like he wants to be a nice friend to her. The book he's reading is also the book you see her reading later, Abomination's book on haikus that he referenced earlier in the series. He had started to read them to her while he was still in his cell. That a lot of the complaints that the trolls are making inside the Intelligencia meeting, it's meant to be them calling out a lot of real-life trolls, like they're complaining about female Thor, which is a reference to Jane Foster in Thor Love and Thunder. Todd literally reveals he's behind everything. He's behind the website, he is Hulk King, and he explains that he was trying to turn himself into another version of the Hulk. And even though they do it briefly in the episode here, like I said, that's like the one thing that they retcon when she breaks the fourth wall to talk to Kevin. In the final canonical version, like after she's made all these changes to the actual plot, everything is still the same, except he was not successful in turning himself into a version of the Hulk. Right before Jennifer Walters rushes down to meet them there, Thunderbolt references Saracen again. Remember, he's the vampire. I just posted my full Easter egg breakdown video of the Werewolf by Night special. The link will be in the comments below, but they were going to do Blade during that, but there were some scheduling issues. But they're setting up larger supernatural characters in the MCU. I talked about this during my previous episode video too. Werewolves, vampires, Man-Thing, other supernatural characters like Ghost Rider is another good example of that too. We find out Abomination has been breaking his parole by going into full form by taking off his inhibitor chip, also putting it on the chickens, which they pay off in the end credit scene too. Like you see someone putting it on one of the chickens, which explains why he was so fond of the chickens. In the way they play this, he says that he was just doing it to earn the money. Like he's not connected to Intelligencia or any of that plot. Like he was genuinely just in it for the money. So when things get crazy and he tries to help her stop the rest of the crowd from getting at her, they just want to show you that he's genuinely being a pretty decent guy, but breaking the law, which is why he turns himself in and goes back to his cell before he accepts Wong's offer for asylum and camartage. I was expecting him to be lying about something, but he just came off way nicer than I was expecting. They pay off the whole blood storyline where, at least before the retcon, he actually uses the serum on himself, turns himself into a version of the Hulk, but that only lasts for like a couple seconds before things really get crazy when Titania busts in and she keeps breaking the fourth wall. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Things are completely off the rails. Do you feel satisfied? Like she's talking to us, the audience, asking us if we feel like the episode has gone off the rails. Just as Bruce Banner Hulk Deus Ex Machina busts in and starts having a rematch with the Abomination, like he literally comes out of nowhere, which they also do at the end of the episode too when Daredevil comes out of nowhere, but that's because she asked for that to happen. And then she breaks the fourth wall in probably the most extreme way that we've ever seen, at least in any of the Marvel series. Even like Rick and Morty, which breaks the fourth wall in crazy ways all the time, hasn't broken the fourth wall in this big a way. Even when we get to Deadpool 3, I'm not expecting him to break the fourth wall in this extreme kind of way. In the way they're playing this fourth wall break, she's talking to the audience about them being not satisfied. Like, don't you feel like this episode is gone completely off the rails? And they're playing it as if we, the audience, have turned the episode off, like we backed out, like, no, we're not going to watch the episode anymore. And it's like we're inside Disney Plus in universe.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? This menu is not gonna stop me.
But because of the way her powers work with this fourth wall breaking, she's still talking to us from inside the system, so to speak, inside Disney Plus, and then literally breaks out of her show and swings down into the Marvel Assembled show, the behind-the-scenes show for all the movies in the series. She also hurts the Loki series a little bit to do this, so sorry Loki. When she breaks out of the episode into real life, the aspect ratio changes from the typical Marvel movie aspect ratio to the 16:9 aspect ratio, so that's how you can tell when she's in real life and when she's actually in the episode. She walks onto the Disney lot where they're actually in the middle of making the She-Hulk show, and this is the real Disney lot in Los Angeles, and this is the actual writer's staff on the She-Hulk series, like Jessica Gao, the showrunner, is this person in the red shirt. When she breaks into the writer's room, there's another QR code you can scan to get another free She-Hulk comic book, and they have one of many Captain America posters, but it's done in the style of the old-timey World War II Uncle Sam posters. Those are all over this part of the episode in different parts of the Marvel Studios lot. I think that's just meant to be another joke about the Marvel secrecy, like everywhere Marvel is watching you, making sure you don't give away their secrets. They have the same Captain America poster inside the room. If you look around the room, the way it's decorated, it seems like the actual She-Hulk writer's room. Like, I literally think that they took the camera and filmed inside the actual real-life writer's room. Over on the right, this is all concept art of characters that we saw earlier this season. It's real Marvel Studios concept art for the actual series. Like, they didn't fake create it just for this episode. They have all the episode beats plotted out on cards across all the walls. That's pretty standard for a writer's room. The writing on the board has phrases referencing stuff from earlier this series, like Cousin Ched's incredible Hulk joke. There are also a couple of jokes too, like most of this is meant to be real, but there are a couple extra jokes they added for this. Like the whole joke here is She-Hulk taking them to task, saying that you came up with a crappy episode because the writers thought that they needed a twist, because there's supposed to be a twist at the end of all the Marvel series and Marvel movies. She-Hulk's big argument is that she was trying to say that that's bad, like everything feels like it's the same. Oh, the villain is trying to steal the powers of the hero. Haven't we done that before? That's also a joke about the first Iron Man movie, because literally during that movie, Obadiah Stane steals his power of the arc reactor to make his own Ironmonger suit, his version of the Iron Man suit. Like I said, throughout this second half of the episode, all these scenes are basically Marvel making fun of Marvel. And also joking about writers having twists and finales for no other purpose than to just have a twist and it being really crappy. On the board, you see it says there's no wowie at the end. That's also calling out a lot of finales that don't have twists, and that's meant to be the big twist. Like, what if we didn't do anything and that was the twist? When they say they're only doing what Kevin wants, obviously that's a reference to Kevin Feige, but in the episode, instead of having the actual real-life Kevin Feige, they have a robot Kevin, and that's meant to be a joke about Kevin Feige being so prolific. Like, he makes so many Marvel movies, so many TV shows, you'd have to be a robot to have the energy to do all that stuff. She-Hulk makes a joke about them churning out a bunch of bland superhero movies and shows, like the actual episode clowns on Kevin Feige himself a little bit. And the other joke here too about Kevin Feige is that in the episode they play it like he's meant to be this untouchable figure that nobody ever gets to see, but in real life, actual Kevin Feige visits the sets of the Marvel movies, the TV shows that they make, talks to everybody, and everybody for the most part says he's a pretty chill dude. Like he's actually really cool to work for. And the other joke here with her trying to break into his office is that Kevin Feige said that he actually does have an office, but he rarely actually spends any time in it sitting behind a desk. Like anytime you see him in like one of those promos sitting in front of a desk that seems like his office, he doesn't actually do that. Most of his time is spent walking around visiting writers' rooms or visiting the sets of the movies. So even though technically he does have an office, like he never spends any time in there. When she actually goes to the Marvel Studios offices, these are the real Marvel Studios offices. Like this is a picture of Ryan Reynolds visiting the Marvel Studios offices. Obviously looks exactly the same, like I said. They have the big joke about her signing the famous Marvel non-disclosure agreement, and she has a joke about it being super long, like she gets really surprised when she sees how long it is, like she keeps scrolling and scrolling and scrolling looking for the signature part. That's all real. They actually do make everybody sign non-disclosure agreements that will basically sue you out of existence if you reveal any of their secrets. Which I also think they're using for a Mark Ruffalo joke, just because of Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland being the spoiler bros. Like, it's a Hulk series, they're making a joke about keeping secrets. Obviously, Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk, you have to make a little bit of fun of him giving away all Marvel secrets all the time. Then when she has her version of a hallway scene, it's meant to be like a parody of a Daredevil hallway scene and kind of like a Black Widow Iron Man 2 hallway scene too, with the way it looks. These hallways are not from the actual real Marvel Studios. Like, this is where it transitions to an actual set. And this is not what the door to Kevin Feige's office looks like. Like, there's no elevator that goes to his office. All the art on the walls is real-life concept art from the previous Marvel movies. They have another one of those same Captain America posters, like watching you, like I'm asking you not to give away our secrets. And when she actually breaks into Kevin Feige's office, they play the Marvel Studios fanfare music, and this set looks exactly like the Disney Plus green screen set where Kevin Feige did his Marvel Phase 4 presentation, where they revealed the very first She-Hulk trailer. And because of the way they're breaking the fourth wall in this, like canonically, the way this is all meant to work is She-Hulk reacting to the knowledge that she is a fictional character in a show, and Kevin created her like he created Bruce Banner. All these other characters wrote their stories and filmed them as if he is the actual camera himself. The other big joke here being that he's this sophisticated algorithm that thinks that he knows exactly what superhero movies are supposed to be and just generates them out of nothing. You also notice as they're panning around the room, he has a bunch of comic book spinner racks. A lot of these comics are also of the brand new characters they just introduced. Like, one of the comics here is an America Chavez comic book. They're also using this joke to say that the Kevin robot basically absorbs the information from these comics to get his ideas for how to make the Marvel movies, which is a reference to Kevin Feige in real life, making the Marvel movies be more like the comics. When they zoom in on Kevin's face, even though his face looks like an actual camera, on the top it looks like he's wearing a little hat. That's meant to be a reference to all the hats that Kevin Feige wears in real life. Typically, you can tell what project he's working on because he'll change his hat just based on whatever he's actually doing at any given moment. The only bummer here is that they didn't use real-life Kevin Feige's voice for the robot Kevin Feige. His acronym stands for Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus, which I also think is meant to be a bit of a wink at the WandaVision Nexus jokes. Like, a lot of the complaints that She-Hulk is making to Kevin is about these big plot points that they think that they're supposed to be paying off, like the blood plot point. And they kind of did that during WandaVision. There are also some other references to Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange in WandaVision during this scene too, when she complains to Kevin about having Hulk come out of nowhere to save her inside her own show. That was the reason they said that they chose not to include Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, in WandaVision, because they didn't want, like, some other dude to come into the story and save Scarlet Witch. They wanted her to save herself. And that's kind of the same argument that She-Hulk is making to the Kevin robot. Also, super meta connection to Rick and Morty too. Another series that breaks the fourth wall, but they just had an episode where they made a ton of Marvel movie jokes, and the episode was also about them not paying off big plot points that they had set up a long time ago. So, like, a lot of the things that they're doing in the She-Hulk finale are things that they literally just did inside the Rick and Morty episode this week. I just posted my video for that, so I'll put a link in the description below. And Jessica Gao, the showrunner on She-Hulk, also came directly from the Rick and Morty series. Her last big episode that she did was the Pickle Rick episode in season 3. Rick and Morty also tells a lot of Marvel jokes because a lot of the Rick and Morty writers have been stolen by Marvel and are now working on Marvel movies. For example, 2 Rick and Morty writers are now writing Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty and Avengers 6 Secret Wars. The Kevin robot makes a joke about real-life Kevin Feige saying, "Were you expecting a man?" They make a meta joke about the special effects budget for She-Hulk and all the Hulk characters being super expensive to do with special effects, so could you please change back to being a human because it's cheaper to film you as a human during episodes. When they cut away and she makes the change, they play the music cue from Black Panther. They make a joke about some of the Marvel movies and TV shows being bad, like the robot says, "Some are better than others, but I will leave that debate for the internet," which is exactly what it's like in real life. She references the title of the episode when she says to him that it's her show, she should get to decide what happens, like the title is, "Whose show is this?" She references the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe, clowning on a lot of the movies, ending in similar ways, and makes a Captain America Super Soldier Serum joke. That's also a reference to the origin of the Hulk character, like the accident that actually gave him his gamma abilities. He was working on a derivative program based on the Super Soldier Serum. Thunderbolt Ross had him working on the next iteration of the Weapons Plus program, which is the Super Soldier Serum program. Also on this series, they referenced that Abomination was given a derivative of the Super Soldier Serum, so literally, he was given the Super Soldier Serum. That's also a bit of a meta joke about the Thunderbolts movie, like there are a lot of characters on that Thunderbolts team that are super soldiers. In this whole part of the fourth wall break with her arguing about what the plot should be, like what they should be changing it to, is her explaining the whole show to the actual audience, to us, the audience, who were probably expecting it to feel more like an action-oriented Incredible Hulk sequel movie. She retcons a couple aspects of the finale, like not everything, just a couple small parts. And when the robot says they were going to explain what Hulk was doing in space on Skaar, she says, save it for the movie. Obviously, that's set up for the reference to Skaar, son of Hulk, at the end of the episode, because they do pay it off. Like, that's a real thing. It is canon now. In the movie where she references them paying that off in a bigger way is probably going to be Captain America 4 New World Order, because the main villain of that is going to be the leader from the Incredible Hulk movie. So there's just like a lot of Hulk-related stuff happening between that and the Thunderbolts movie. So they might wind up paying off some of the Skaar son of Hulk plot during the Thunderbolts movie as well. Like, it might cross over between Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. I talked about this earlier, like them setting up a whole World War Hulk arc in the movies. That's what this is about. They basically confirmed a lot of my theories. She brings back Daredevil because he's awesome. Of course, she'd bring him back. And she just got with him. Like, she also makes a joke about that too. I smash a lot of things, including Matt Murdock sometimes. She complains about all the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy having the same types of daddy issues because a lot of them do have daddy issues. She also made a joke about that in the first couple of episodes, I believe, too. Really enjoy the X-Men reference when she complains about them not doing X-Men yet and then winks at us, the audience, like she's doing us a solid, like, hey guys, I'm looking out for you. I'm asking for those X-Men. But the thing is, since they made this episode, they probably didn't have time to change this, but since then they've announced Deadpool 3, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is coming back. He is like a core X-Men character, so they already are kind of doing X-Men. But I think when you're talking about the X-Men spin-off movie, they might wind up doing that during Marvel Phase 6, if they don't push it till after Secret Wars. They've been setting up all kinds of mutants, like Namor is going to be a mutant in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Miss Marvel was a mutant during her series that just happened a little while ago. So there'll be a lot of mutant stuff happening across Marvel Phase 5 and Marvel Phase 6. I also love when the Kevin Feige robot is like, I can't tell you about the X-Men yet. When she starts referencing She-Hulk Season 2, I think they do have loose plans for a Season 2. Like, nothing is ever a done deal till it actually happens, but I think they have planned for her to potentially get a Season 2. But then when the Kevin Feige robot clowns on her about being in the movie, is like, I will see you on the big screen. And she's like, wait a minute, you mean for real? She's talking about being in the upcoming movies. And he's like, no, I don't mean that. I think the joke there is that she actually will be in the movies. Like, she's talking to Marvel right now, signing contracts for that kind of stuff, and she'll probably come back for a lot of the Skaar son of Hulk stuff that they pay off in Captain America 4 and the Thunderbolts movie. The whole idea is that all these brand new characters they're introducing on the Disney Plus series are meant to cross over into the movies. She makes a bunch of Hulk smash references, like she talks about smashing the plot of the episode as well as smashing the fourth wall, and then obviously, like I said, smashing Matt Murdock. Then when she comes back to the actual episode, like the actual plot picks up again, what they're saying canonically now, based on all the changes she made, is that all the Intelligencia stuff still happened the way that you saw it, but the one minor change is that Todd was not successful in his attempts to steal the powers of the Hulk. They all get arrested, she's going to sue him out of existence, which they pay off later in the episode, and then the funny part here is that Daredevil, kind of like Hulk earlier, Deus Ex Machina, comes out of nowhere because she asked the Kevin Feige robot to do that. We also find out that Titania is a huge Daredevil fan. Who wouldn't be a Daredevil fan? Abomination turns himself in, and like I said, they're playing him as if he is a generally good person now. Like, he's not meant to be evil. He's just bending the rules to try and earn some money. And I think because of what he said earlier in the post-credit scene when he takes Asylum in Camartage, he essentially becomes a fugitive, so Val might take advantage of that during the Thunderbolts movie and say, if you come help us, then I'll help get you back into the country legally. Like, you won't have to worry about that anymore. She has another family meal with her entire family like she did before, only this time Matt Murdock is there. They make a bunch of Matt Murdock Daredevil jokes, and I think a lot of this is also meant to set up the events of Daredevil Born Again. Like, oh yes, I have a practice in Hell's Kitchen. I grew up there. This is why I help people. This is why I don't earn a lot of money, because I try to help people who do not have money. He also says that he's staying for an entire week, so it sounds like they're going to be smashing for quite a while. I also kind of think she might wind up cameoing at some point during Daredevil Born Again episodes, but it would be her going to New York City because I think most of the plot will take place in and around New York City for that. Then obviously, big WTF moment of the episode, Bruce Banner Hulk shows up for real this time and introduces them to his son, Skaar, son of Hulk, right out of the comics. So the whole thing is that this came after the Planet Hulk comics and World War Hulk. Basically, it's them confirming that the Skaar spaceship came to get him because he was learning that he had a son for the first time, and the idea that while he was on Skaar in the Contest of Champions in full Hulk form, his mind had been suppressed so much that he just was not conscious of what happened during that 2-year gap. So the idea is that during that period, Hulk got busy with the woman, and he's just learning about it now. And like I said, they probably will not pay that off till Captain America 4, maybe some other movie, but it'll be like their version of an MCU World War Hulk plot. Then they show her at the actual trial where she's going to sue Todd and all the other Intelligencia members. She declares on the news that she's going to continue being a vigilante, like she says she's coming for the bad guys in court and out of court. I believe the phrase difficult diva of law is also from the She-Hulk comics, and then during the end credit scene where they have all these new scenes, the new ones that they added are the scene of the Abomination's retreat with them putting Abomination's inhibitor on the chickens, just to help him get around it and use his power so that he could earn more money from these speaking engagements. They have the Kevin robot reading a She-Hulk comic book, and it's the very first issue of Savage She-Hulk. They show Todd at their trial. In the background are all the other members of Intelligencia sweating it out because they're about to go to jail. The song that's playing over this is a Missy Elliott remix of Rapper's Delight from the Sugar Hill Gang. And then in the post-credit scene, they pay off Wong offering asylum to Abomination at Comartage. He accepts the offer. They make another reference to him watching another TV show, like that's Wong's big thing in his free time is watching TV shows. Probably hanging out with Madison. The joke about the Wi-Fi is a callback to the first Doctor Strange movie. The password for the Wi-Fi in that movie was Shambhala.
What's this, my mantra?
The Wi-Fi password.
And like I said, I think this is all set up for him being recruited by Val to the Thunderbolts, and that'll be his way of clearing his record so that he can come back into the country legally. Obviously, there's like a billion things going on in this. It got super meta, way weirder than I was ever expecting. If you spotted any other Easter eggs or references in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write down below in the comments. Or if you have any big questions about plot points or the way that they played things in these fourth wall breaks. I'm working on a new Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer video that should post really soon. We're also going to get the very first Ant-Man 3 Quantumania trailer with a whole bunch of Kang, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everyone click here for my Deadpool 3 Wolverine trailer video, and click here for my She-Hulk Episode 8 Daredevil video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.